How did Equestria Girls start? Back in the early 2010s, Hasbro, the corporation behind the My Little Pony franchise, kinda got jealous of the success that Mattel, their rival company, had with Monster High. Monster High was extremely popular among school-aged girls. It is a big market and potential clientele. So Hasbro of course wanted a piece of that pie as well. This is how the ideal Equestria Girls was born in the first place. To create a toy line of magical high school girls similar to Monster High. That doesn't sound bad, and in the right hands could have potentially turned into something very interesting. The most logical decision was to create a new setting with new characters. However, Hasbro decided to minimize their potential risk and make a new brand instantly recognizable among children and parents. Since My Little Pony was immensely popular in the early 2010s due to the Friendship is Magic show, the company decided to turn MLP characters into high school girls, and named this whole thing Equestria Girls. The first movie was released in June 2013, right after season 3 of Friendship is Magic ended. Today I'm not gonna be talking about the corporate side of this new franchise, toys and stuff, but about movies, specials, and everything else that was released under the Equestria Girls logo. The premise of the first movie is extremely simple. Twilight Sparkle and her friends go to Crystal Empire, and in the night her crown is stolen by a mysterious hooded unicorn, who jumps into a mysterious magical mirror which turns out, unexpectedly, to be a portal to another world. And now Princess Twilight has to enter this world through the mirror in order to bring her crown back. The world she ends up in turns out to be a human world. Well, sorta human world, not exactly our human world. And the first big problem of Equestria Girls emerges without any delay. At least the big problem of the movies. Animation style. Human characters have the same style as ponies to make Equestria Girls, as I already said before, instantly recognizable. This flash animation works well with ponies. These big heads in proportion to bodies work. When we look at pony characters, our brain doesn't register that there is something amiss. But when it comes to humans, we notice that instantly. Heads are too big. Models of the characters do not seem to be flexible and rotatable. I don't know what else to say. Only the full face view looks somewhat decent. But when the characters turn their heads, the face models look bad, like they aren't supposed to be viewed from the side. If Hasbro was serious about making ponies into humans, they should have at least changed the style a bit to make it more visually pleasing to look at. Everything else besides humans, which includes animals, buildings, backgrounds, it all usually looks extremely well. The animators were clearly good at their job. Skin colors were made to resemble the pony counterparts, albeit less saturated. With such models, different skin colors work better than if characters had normal human skin instead. Not just because of models, but also hair colors that human characters adopted from their pony counterparts. And the outfits are ridiculous too. These boots and skirts, the characters wear them only because dolls have them. Applejack and Rainbow Dash, if they were humans, wouldn't wear skirts, that I can guarantee you. Okay, that's enough about animation and character design. It wasn't good frankly in the first movie, but was constantly improving. Special episodes released in 2018 and 2019 look really decent compared to the movies, especially compared to the first movie. Now let's focus on the storytelling instead. And here we encounter even greater problems than questionable animation. It feels like the writers really didn't care too much. They probably weren't tasked to write a well-connected story that makes at least a little sense. First, the high school setting is not about MLP at all. Pony characters are all young adults, none of them studies or even lives with parents. They have jobs, even run personal business like Rarity. But in the human realm, they all study at high school. College would have been much better, of course, but then school kids wouldn't be able to relate to the characters, if the characters were too old for them. In Magical Equestria, older characters work, since they aren't busy with our everyday routine. They don't go to office to work 9 to 5. Instead, they go on different quests and defeat magical foes. With humans in a world resembling our human world, that wouldn't have worked. So the characters in Equestria Girls' world are younger than ponies. Time probably flows differently in the pony world and human world. This can be scientifically explained. I can't believe I just said that. Twilight Sparkle ends up in Canterlot High School. The unicorn that stole her crown is Sunset Shimmer. Now Twilight must win the crown by becoming a princess of Fall Formal. Sunset Shimmer's age is an even bigger problem than Twilight's age. Sunset was a student of Celestia's long before Twilight. She is probably 25 to 30 years old. But she spends 4 years in high school again and becomes friends with high school girls. It's way safer not to think about this deeply since writers clearly didn't care too much. And I also suspect weren't too happy writing Equestria Girls. But job is job no matter what you think about it. The first movie was a huge miss. The only good thing is the score and songs. The music was extremely beautiful. However, the second movie, which is Rainbow Rocks, is way better than the first one. Animation improved, the lighting, camera movement, camera angles, better antagonist, better work with characters, absolutely fantastic music. Basically MLP meets Scott Pilgrim, and it worked. The writers seem to have a lot of fun with this movie. If there is one thing that Equestria Girls did better than the main show, is that characters really do feel the consequences of their action. Let's compare Sunset and Starlight Glimmer, very similar characters in many ways. I would even argue Starlight was added as a substitute for Sunset Shimmer, since the latter couldn't be a regular character in Friendship is Magic. Both do terrible things, but realize that they were wrong, feel remorse and get redeemed. However, in Season 6 Starlight hardly feels any real consequences of her extremely evil action before. Only in the finale does she feel nervous going to the old village, because she feels that the ponies she brainwashed still did not really forgive her. Sunset Shimmer, on the other hand, fully experiences the consequences of her evil behavior. Other students do not trust her. Her new friends do not fully trust her either, constantly remind her what she did, and don't even consider inviting her to their new band, the Rainbows. And Princess Twilight doesn't trust her either at first. Sunset Shimmer feels the weight of her wrongdoings on her own shoulders. And this is great for character development. But it should also be noted Starlight moved to Ponyville, and ponies there didn't even know what she did. But still, Starlight could feel more remorse. She could be haunted by her past mistakes. She nearly completely destroyed the timeline. That's a heavy burden, much heavier than just bullying kids and turning them into an army of zombies. For like 5 minutes. Human Twilight also turns into raging she-demon in the third movie, Friendship Games. In the fourth movie, Twilight experiences what is known as post-traumatic syndrome, or PTSD. Unlike Sunset, she was turned into a demon against her own will, which must have been an extremely traumatic experience for her. She becomes afraid of magic, she sees nightmares, everything reminds her of transformation into Midnight Sparkle. This is what Equestria Girls movies actually do right. The consequences. And movies focus on these consequences. The Legend of Everfree is the most visually pleasing movie out of all 4. Character models are not too awkward anymore. The summer camp, nature, everything looks fresh and good. The contrast between the first and the last movie is noticeable. Story-wise, it's better too, but the formula begins to feel old. We have a good character, she gets consumed by equestrian magic and turned into a furious demon, but gets redeemed in the end. Specials are way better than movies. Good animation, improved character design, better clothes, practically everything is better. The story's turned more slice of life, which suits Equestria Girls perfectly. And if we stop connecting it to Friendship is Magic, it stops being overtly ridiculous. The logic is completely not applicable. Where does Sunset Shimmer get all the money so she can afford living in a nice house that is 3 times bigger than my apartment? My headcanon is that her money comes from Equestria. Sunset probably stole a lot of gems which were converted into money in the human world, and consequently was able not only to buy a house, but also live a pretty luxurious life. But what about legal documents? Did she fake all the documents? Where is Sunset from the human world? Did she kill and replace her? Probably just fake the documents using magic. That's my headcanon at least. As I said, it's better not to think about Equestria Girls too deeply, or things might get really unhinged. Equestria Girls specials are very enjoyable overall. All 5 specials are good, they have a good sense of humor and interaction between characters. New characters have at least good character design. The characters finally look like actual humans, not like dolls from a Walmart. Ridiculous skirts and boots are finally gone and replaced with actual nice looking clothes. Everything feels harmonic. Yes, the villain aspect is still the worst apart from Wallflower Blush, who is just a great character with a believable motivation that anyone can relate to, I am sure. Even the most popular people can relate to her. She raises so awkward moments with other people. She suffers from loneliness because no one can even remember her. She feels abandoned, unimportant, jealous, invisible. She even suddenly starts to sing about it in the middle of the scene. Specials are good, but I think shorts are the best part of Equestria Girls. It's just really fun little slice of life adventures and songs. No evil forces to defeat, nothing overly complicated at all. Suits this franchise perfectly in my opinion. It's just so much fun to see what characters do in their everyday lives. The jokes are nice, the animation is good as well. Equestria Girls really came a long way from the first frankly ridiculous movie with a good soundtrack to something enjoyable in its own unique way. Everything about Equestria Girls tremendously improved along the way until the very last special. So after all, the spin-off series did leave a positive impression. It certainly did give us some very memorable moments and music. Considering how and why the spin-off franchise was born in the first place, this is a mighty impressive achievement.